Welcome to a special edition of the SSE Show. Today, an interesting guest, Jeremy Roenick, is going to talk about the NHL lockout, and his friend Tiki Barber actually came on as well, so this could be an interesting show. Jeremy has played the National Hockey League for 18 seasons, so this guy knows a lot about what they're dealing with. I'd like to get your take, Jeremy, on who do you side with? I mean, you're a player, so in a way, I'm thinking maybe you're leaning that way, but right now you think either side is really in the fault here.
Well, I've always been a player's guy. I've always leaned towards the player's side. I think in 2004, I was one of the guys who came out and said, "Hey, listen to the NHLPA. You know, we can live in the National Hockey League with a salary cap," which made a lot of guys really angry. But I knew that that we could survive on a salary cap, and I was one that wanted to get guys to come out and say they agreed with me, even though they were afraid of rocking the boat a little bit. I think nowadays there's a lot of young kids in the league. I think a lot of kids are afraid of saying what they really feel. But right now, I think the owners are really trying to bully their way into getting the deal that they want. They say they want to go to 50-50, but it's how fast they can get to 50-50, and they don't like all the existing contracts, which they negotiated to stand firm and to continue into play. There's a big discrepancy right now. They seem close, but they're really not too close because of the contract situation.
What I find amazing is, and a former Buffalo Sabres owner, minority owner, I thought it was an interesting comment he said. He says, look, there's $3.3 billion in revenue. There's enough to share. If the National Hockey League acted like Tiki's group, NFL, they could get something done. Why does everybody always say the NFL's got it right and NHL doesn't? And they said that they could take that from $3.3 billion to $5 billion if they knew how to manage this stuff.
Well, I think that's interesting. Let me jump in here for a second, Jeremy. I think one of the big differences between what the NHL is going through right now and what the NFL went through is the TV contract. The NFL is a almost $10 billion business because of this massive television contract, and hockey, the NHL hasn't been able to negotiate one of those yet. And if that ever happened, I think the financial stability of the league in totality would become much stronger. As a result, though, if they don't have one, they're having to struggle over who's going to share the revenues and what percentage each one's going to get.
Yeah, I agree, and it's hard to compare leagues. The NFL's at 50-50, basketball's at 50-50, very strong leagues, and I agree with Tiki 100%. It's that television revenue is such a huge asset for those leagues. I mean, you look at the New York Yankees. New York Yankees don't have to play a game in order to have their whole payroll already paid off. And
right.
The National Hockey League, unfortunately, we're not one of the most popular sports. People don't understand hockey as much. Our fan base is a lot lower, and the TV contract is a lot lower. So there's a lot that they're battling with. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you are, an owner or player, those guaranteed contracts in the National Hockey League have now come to bite them. $3.3 billion is a lot, yes. A 50-50 split would be wonderful, but they have to make sure that they honor all the contracts that they've guaranteed already in order to continue playing, because the players aren't going to accept anything less.
And we talked about this earlier before we went on air, talked about the lifespan. What people don't realize is the lifespan of athletes. I mean, you work in the real world and you're not an athlete. You could work for, till you're 60. Well, you can't do that as an athlete. Right now, your time is very limited. I think the athletes suffer the most by a lockout because their careers are so short.
Well, for me, 2004 was pretty much the end of my career in terms of my star status. I was still a prominent star in 2004, scoring big goals, playing at the top of my game. 2004-2005 season got canceled, and I pretty much deteriorated as a hockey player. I lost $8.5 million of salary with a 24% rollback, and after that I struggled to stay in the league. And you're exactly right. And Tiki, I'll let you talk a little bit more about the window of opportunity for athletes. But you have to make sure you take care of your finances while you're there. Take care of you as long as you possibly can, because unfortunately, a lot of athletes don't have the education level that a lot of people are out there working on, and they really have to make sure they take their finances to heart and make sure they have the best deals that they possibly can in that short window.
No, and you're right, Jeremy. The big issue is guaranteed contracts, and it's the one thing that the NFL does not have. Even though we do have a ton of post-retirement benefits that come in handy, especially some of these guys fall on financial hardship and more likely have physical issues from playing the game for so long. But you hit it dead on the head, right on the head. When you cancel a season or you take the revenue out of these guys' hands, a lot of them don't have appreciable skills other than what they spent their life developing. And when you take that away from them, a lot of them struggle. So you're absolutely right. They need to do the players have to do all that they can to make every dime that they can to monetize their skill. Otherwise, it could get treacherous for them down the line.
We're talking about
look at it another way. Let me just add to that point. With the National Hockey League right now, when you look at the teams that are making money and losing money, I would say more than half the teams right now, because they're not playing, might be saving money that the season's not going on. The Phoenix Coyotes lose $20–25 million a year in their revenue stream, and not playing right now is saving the league money, and that's a terrible situation to be in.
Yeah.
Until so the players are losing money left, right, and center. Half the owners are enjoying what's going on because they're actually saving money and putting themselves in the best position to make more revenue in the future years.
Jeremy, to answer your question, I want to ask Jeremy a question because you were part of that lockout, whenever it was, 6 years ago. And one of the talking points was how the negative effect of fans missing out on the season was going to have on the next season or whenever you started playing again. Is that going to happen again?
Well, if you look back to 2005-2006 season, the year we came back from the lockout, the National Hockey League had record number of attendance. The whole year was the best attendance year in the history of the National Hockey League, the year after a lockout, which says a lot about the fans and their loyalty. However, you go two lockouts in 8 years, you do that to fans twice. I don't see that stat happening again. I think you lose a lot of fans if you lose this season. The fans will just say, you know what, I'm tired of the money-hungry athletes or the money-hungry owners, and I'm just not going to follow it anymore, unfortunately.
Tiki, I'm glad you brought up the fans because I was going to hit up on that as well. Fans are loyal. They come back. But like you're saying, after a while they get burned out. I still remember. I know this is crazy. Y'all may not remember this, but back when I was a kid, the Dallas Cowboys and the NFL, they went through a strike, and they had scab players, okay? And I still remember this to this day. And it was that long ago. So these fans, they're going to remember some of this stuff over time. I may not hurt in 1 year, 2 years, but over time, they're going to look back at this. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. I mean, people don't forget, and I remember that scab time too. I remember, how fans looked at them. I know how the athletes looked at them. Unfortunately, it's a level of business, and it's a level of salaries that a lot of people can't relate to. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to look and call it selfish. They're going to look and call the athlete greedy, money hungry. Which to me, it's unfair because there's a lot of people in this world that are in different jobs that make a lot of money. It's a business, and a business has to be run the way a person's finances have to be run. It's just different levels.
You know what else is going to happen, Jeremy? And fortunately, the NFL and its locked out players didn't get to the point of missing games. But the NFL referees did get to the point that at the beginning of the season. We all remember how vitriolic the response was to the replacement referees. And so money aside, even though that is a huge issue, the respect for the game got deteriorated because of the scabs. And you never want that to happen because then you're competing against the college levels or the amateur levels or whatever it may be, and the value of the game gets depreciated, and that's not good for anyone involved.
Absolutely. When you start messing with that, the integrity of a game, that's when it gets serious. And that seems like what's happening here. Okay, so Jeremy, people have said, fans on Twitter, they're all saying, you should be the commissioner, you're awesome. So let's pretend for a day you're the commissioner of the NHL. What are you doing right now?
Without question, I would be behind closed doors, hammering something out. Literally, I love the game so much. I'm a huge fan. I'm not the best mathematician in the world, but I do know that you can come up with a plan that's gonna benefit both the players and the owners, and both of them have to be able to give a little bit here. But you're not going to get a deal done by playing hardball or bully ball or saying, well, you're not going to accept our offer. We're not going to talk. We're not accepting your offer, so we're not going to talk. I would be behind closed doors, hammering out a deal. Hey, if you got to go to fisticuffs to get a deal done, then go do it. I don't care. But what Tiki said is really important. The nature, the good of the game is really important. The fans and getting the game back in front of the fans is very important. Don't lose that respect for the game or the fans. So get behind closed doors. If it takes 24 hours a day, then do it. Bring cots in there. Take 2 hours.
No food, no eating. Lock them in there.
Get in there. Lock the doors and don't come out until you're on a stretcher or you have a deal done. To me, that's what I would be doing, because I would fight for the game. I would fight for the sport, and I would just keep battling out until they came up with some solution, some plan faster than what they're doing right now, because there's no plans, talk plans right now. Today at 2 o'clock, the National Hockey League is going to announce that the whole November is going to be canceled. And that's just, they shouldn't be doing that. They should be behind closed doors doing a deal.
I like that. Let's lock them in the room. No water, no food, no drinks, no lights, no electricity, and you cannot leave. I guarantee you something would happen, wouldn't it? Robert's a fan. He's got a question. What do you got, Robert?
One thing I've been following is I'm obviously following some of the teams on social media. One of the things they're doing is they'll be showing their AHL teams. Do you think that's going to help save, some of the fans that are missing out on the hockey that they want to see? What do you think they should be doing to keep fans engaged while we're in the lockout? And, I mean, as a fan myself, you look at all the lockouts that we've had already, I think people are just tired of lockouts. What do you think they should be doing?
Yeah,
you should be tired of it. You should be tired of it. I'm tired of it, and I went through them, and now I'm a fan, and so I'm tired of it too. And I respect the fact that you're tired of it. You should be. The AHL putting games on on television. AHL, even ESPN3 was going to put KHL games on television, and that's okay for the real rabid, crazy hockey fans that just want to see hockey. But unfortunately, there's a very limited amount of people that will really enjoy that. I'll be totally honest with you. I'm not going to turn on ESPN and watch an AHL game. I won't do it. I'll rather watch Fox News and see what's going on with the debates and all that stuff. I wouldn't want to watch AHL hockey, but that's just me. So the crazy fans, yes, but as a whole, you're not gonna please the high-paying fans that want to see the superstars play the way most sports do.
Well, that's what you brought up, Tiki. You brought up that's part of that integrity of the game. When the old days when they put the scabs out there, it's not the league. That is not the league. It's not the same.
Well, it's interesting, and I can give another parallel to that. When you look at NFL Europe, the NFL has been trying to expand internationally for a long time. They're playing a game in London this week. They're talking about doing games up in Canada with the Buffalo Bills and also in Mexico. But the issue that happens is that it's an inferior product when you put on these lower-level games. And while people may watch because they need to get a fix, it's not going to be with the same intensity that they watch the professionals playing the game at. And that's all important to driving revenue. Because if you're watching a second-tier guy, you're not going to go to Modell's or Sports Authority and buy his jersey, or you're not going to spend $50 to buy an NHL or NFL package to watch the second-tier guy. That tertiary revenue that's coming in is all driven by star power. And if your stars aren't playing, people aren't going to really be watching.
Jeremy, are we going to have a season or not?
I was optimistic until last week. And once the 50-50 offers were refused on both sides, it was the first time that I really felt that there's a strong possibility that the season could be lost. I still don't want to say that. I'm hoping that the sense of urgency comes up here in November. But I'll tell you what, if the league loses the biggest revenue game in the history of the league in the Winter Classic in Michigan, they might as well just wipe out the whole season, because that's such a huge game for the league, and it's such a huge game for NBC, who's put in $2.2 billion into a 10-year deal with the NFL. There's a lot of relationships that are going to be burnt because of that.
I remember when baseball kept going through the strikes and stuff. The only thing that brought it back, if y'all remember that, was Sosa and McGuire, the home run, them battling it out. It took something that monumental to get the fans excited again. What would it take for hockey to get their fans back? Let's say they do another lockout. What will it take for them to bring the game back to excitement? What would you change in the game?
I don't know, but I'm a true believer. You take care of your fans. And I hope that when the league does come back, the league and the players do something to give appreciation to their fans for coming back and sticking around. Whether it's make the tickets half price for a certain amount of games, whether it's the players do more public appearances, whether they give everybody a free jersey at the games. There's got to be something that the league has got to do to show their appreciation for the fans that still support the game. And, hey, we're sorry that we locked out again twice in 8 years. I'm a true believer in giving back. I'm a true believer in making sure that the fans are appreciated. And if the owners don't come back and do something that's right for the fans in some capacity, shame on them.
Tiki, what do you think? What would you do as an owner of a team or a league? What would you do to get the fans excited again if they ever did come back?
Well, I think that Jeremy is right on.
We lost you there for a sec. Your audio went out.
All right, there we go. Now I'm back.
There you
on.
go. No problem.
I would agree with what Jeremy is saying. You find a way to tier pricing so that it's accessible for people who normally wouldn't have access to come in and do it. I mean, it's different in hockey than it is in baseball or even in football, where you can change rules a little bit and make it more offensively exciting and bring some generate fans that way. But it's all about access. I think you have to find ways to make it very accessible, even if you have to go to schools or community centers around your teams and literally give away tickets.
Okay, folks, we got about 11 more minutes of this, so it looks like a big Montreal Canadiens fan is here. Can you hear us okay, Louis? Is it Luis? Maybe he's just listening in. And now he's typing away, so he wants, yes, that's right. Okay, you have a question, and you could do it right there in the chat as well, or you could, here we go, he's typing away. All right, we'll get to him in a minute. We do have some Twitter questions. Y'all want to take a Twitter question? Michael on Twitter says, Jeremy, isn't it time to change the system here in Europe? Hey, we're getting a question from Europe. That's awesome. Here in Europe, you sign a contract for X amount and the length of stay. What do you think of that?
Well, I don't think it's much different in the National Hockey League. I think there's a lot of NHL guys right now playing over in Europe, and I think and there's a lot of guys sitting at home, watching television and not making a paycheck. So a lot of people say, where's the fairness of that? I think Europe is a great league. I think there's a lot of great players over there. I think their contracts are not obviously not up to par with the National Hockey League, and there's really not as many choices for players over there as they are over here. So I'm not just going to sit here and compare European leagues to the National Hockey League, because the National Hockey League is the best league in the whole world, and that has the most revenue, it has the highest salaries, and it has the best players. So. But still, you got great players coming over from Europe, and we just hope that they come back.
Louis from Montreal, Canada. Okay, here he is now. He says players know they're going to lose, and if they did, and should they cut their losses now? Should they just say, forget it, let's get out of this? And then what would the owners do? Would they just do this every time?
And that's their argument right now. Their argument's like, hey, listen, they locked us out in 2004. They won that. We gave back 24% rollback on contracts in 2004. The owners won the lockout in 2004. Here we are 8 years later, and they're doing it again. This time they're doing it with revenue share. And there comes a point that the players are saying, if we continue to give in and give in and give in every time there's a lockout, we're going to go through this every 5 years. So, the players have to take a stand to a certain point. They understand they have to give back, and I'm going to reiterate that the players will go to 50-50. It's going to take 2 or 3 years, 2.5 years in order to get that with the league revenue increasing the way it has in the last 5 or 6 years. It's going to take them 2 years to make sure that all those existing contracts are honored. If the NHL does that, within 2.5 years, you're going to have a 50-50 split. But the owners don't want that, and that's what the players want. They want their existing contracts honored. And to me, I'm a guy that when I signed a contract, I lived by the contract. I didn't renegotiate. I didn't say, hey, I had a great season, pay me more, or I had a bad season, pay me less. A contract was a contract. A handshake is a handshake. Honor them, because when we stop honoring contracts in our world today, the whole system falls apart, and it leaves too many open windows and open holes for businesses to crumble. And I don't think the players can allow that, and I don't think the owners should allow that.
Tiki, you've been a player. You've been involved in stuff like this. As a player, do you get bitter?
It's easy to get bitter, and I understand what Jeremy is saying about in the contract situation. I can see this from both sides because the NFL went through something very similar. When the contracts exceed the ability of the ownerships to pay, you're really in a catch-22. But there has to be some kind of give and some kind of movement somewhere. And what the NFL did was they started with the rookies instead of these inflated rookie salaries driving up the market for every position. You capped it. And while it may have been painful for the ownership and for the league in general for 2 or 3 years, eventually it's going to level out and make the league in total more healthy. And I think that's the option that the NHL needs to look at right now. You can't, as Jeremy was saying, you can't renege on the contracts that these guys have already signed.
How about this?
Yes, a lot of guys are going to be overpaid right now, respective of how it's going to be in a couple years. But that's part of the system.
How about this, Tiki? How about the teams govern themselves properly and don't need a babysitter to make sure that the funds and the revenue is being spent the right way? And Leopold, who is the GM of Minnesota, one day says, we have to get rid of these long-term front-loaded contracts, which are just killing us, killing the league, killing the teams. And then the next day signs 2 players to 10-year, $100 million contracts. So it's like, what do you do? Are you for it? Are you against it? You can't say one thing and do another thing and expect the players to have to babysit on how you spend your finances. The owners are in this situation right now because they allowed their GMs to pay these 10, 12 million year contracts. And it's defeat the whole purpose. Alexei Yashin, 10 years. Look, he hasn't played in the league for over 7 years. DiPietro, a 15-year contract. He's been hurt for 3/4 of his contract. And listen, you have a business. You have to govern your business right. And unfortunately, the owners have put themselves in this position. Now they're trying to get out of it by telling the players, "Hey, listen, we're not honoring those contracts." And I do believe that the owners should have more of the revenue. 43% is just, it's not right. That's too big of a gap, 57 to 43. But narrow that down, honor the contracts, and then when you get to the point that you're at, then make sure you spend your money wisely. Don't give all these contracts that are going to hurt you in the end, and overpay some of these players that don't deserve to get the kind of money that they're getting.
And the way to do that, Jeremy, is by putting in some of the protections, for lack of a better word, that the NFL and the Major League Baseball has, taxes and the salary caps, and even a salary floor, so you're not just cheaping guys that are on your team, and you have to pay them a certain amount. You have to provide them with certain facilities and medical professional access, things of that nature. Those type of things need to be in discussion as well as financial restraint from the executives.
Okay, guys, about 5 more minutes. Matt just joined us. Matt, how are you doing? Can you hear us okay? How about your audio?
Matt? Up at the top right, there's a microphone button. If you click that, it'll unmute you. You had some background noise, so we had to...
There you go. You see that little microphone button? Pretty simple. Google makes it easy, man.
How you doing, guys?
There you go. How's it going? You got a question?
Yeah, huge fan of yours, JR.
I love the shirt, man. I love the shirt.
Yeah, let's see the shirt. Stand up. Let's see the shirt. Wait, make sure you're wearing pants though before you stand up. Look at that. Awesome.
Beauty.
Sick.
I love this stuff. Good stuff, man. What's your question?
I'm currently reading his book, so I think I know the answer. But what are your thoughts, JR, on getting rid of the salary cap?
First of all, I love that you got my book. I appreciate it very much. Hopefully, you're laughing a lot and saying what a whackball that JR is. I'm hoping you're saying that, but I don't think they should get rid of the salary cap. I think the salary cap is very healthy. There is a floor to the salary cap, and there's a ceiling. We agreed to the salary cap in 2004, and I think the National Hockey League has thrived under it, to tell you the truth. Players are still making their money, still making good contracts, and the owners are at least keeping things to a limit. I don't think they should get rid of the salary cap whatsoever, because we're going to be back in the same boat that we were back in the mid-'90s.
Let's talk now some other stuff. We got a couple of more minutes. We've been talking enough about the lockout. He just brought out the book, brought up some other stuff. Jeremy, what are you up to these days? Tell everybody out there what you've been doing.
Yeah, well, as you just heard, my book comes out November 1st in stores, and you can get it on Amazon right now. It's self-entitled, just JR, and it was been 18 months in the making. So we've been talking a lot about a lot of stories, a lot of things that I went through in my life, a lot of crazy things. I think a lot of people will enjoy reading the book. It's an easy read. It's a quick read. You're gonna laugh. You're literally gonna sit there and say, JR is such an idiot. What was he thinking? A lot of top ups and downs in terms of where the story brings you, and just it brings you some of my opinions on the league, some of my opinions about players, opinions about some of the other the other faces that I've ran into along the way. And then I have a company out of New York, a media company that I'm heavily in building, and obviously I'm not doing any television because there's no hockey to be talking about. But my golf game's really good. I'm enjoying my time off, and but I still have ADD. I'm still moving all over the country, and trying to do as many things as I can to to give back to charities. And I went to a charitable event last night, and like I said, I'll never sit still. I'll sleep when I'm dead, and so far I'm hopefully a long way from that.
Tiki, what do you think about athletes that get out of the game like you guys have done, and you make something, you do something, you get out there? How fun is it for you, and what do you think about everything that Jeremy does, and how did you guys ever get hooked up?
We have a mutual acquaintance and an agent and a broadcasting guy, Mark Lepselter, who connected us. But I think it's paramount for athletes to build a brand and then use it to the best of their ability to grow whatever their next career is going to be. Because the unfortunate thing for athletes is you leave college and you don't start walking a corporate ladder. You start walking a professional athlete ladder. And when you get out of it, you can't catch up to your peers who are now CEOs or in high-paying jobs. And so you have to use every bit of leverage that you can in order to build something for yourself, whatever it may be. And you better be passionate about it, because after playing a professional sport for as long as you have, anything else feels mundane and boring, and you're going to get bored, and you're ultimately going to fail at it. But I love what Jeremy's doing. He is ADT. He's all over the place, but that's what makes him great.
And to you guys' point, so where's the opportunity now? In the old days, you had to get media coverage. You've got social media now. You could really take your own brand in your own way. Jeremy, you've done really well on Twitter. You're now trying Google Hangouts. Where do you see the opportunity in this new space, and is it exciting?
Yeah, it's really exciting. I was always a fan guy. I love to be able to take questions from fans, take comments from fans, give out my opinions on things, because obviously everybody knows I have an opinion about something. I have no problem saying it. So I think for me, Twitter is a great outlet for me. I take bashing on Twitter from a lot of people. There's, I'd probably say 50% of the people really like me, and 50% of the people really don't.
It's like your politician.
Do you like
Jeremy.
that? Do you like that personality?
I love it. I love it, because you know why? Because I can say anything I want, and I'm going to be okay with it, because I'm going to please half the people and piss off the other. So I like that stance. I enjoy. Hey, whether people bash me on Twitter or say negative things, I enjoy reading them just as much as I get the fans saying thank you for this or love you here. I love people's opinions, and I'm a people person, and that will never change. And the social networks allowed me to stay in contact with the people that are here with us right now. I love looking at them, hearing their questions, and answering them. To me, I could do this all day long.
Tiki, when you had players on your team that were similar to Jeremy, was it fun, interesting? What would you?
What do you mean? I was exactly Jeremy. You'd ask me a question, I'd tell you the answer, whether you wanted to hear it or not. But what I love about social networking, it allows you to actually answer a question as opposed to someone taking a little snippet of something that you said and take it out of context and shape you as something that you're not, or make you have said something that you didn't. You can actually respond and give your true reaction to whatever the circumstance is, and you don't have to have people like you. I love what Jeremy was saying. He's a politician. 50% of the people hate you, 50% of the people like you. But that's part of being a public figure, and you have to embrace it. Otherwise, don't be a public figure.
Yeah, 50-50, you'd probably win the election. Good job. All right. Guys, this was awesome. I appreciate.
Hey, I want to hear a couple more questions from
absolutely.
Here. I'm not done yet.
Absolutely. I just want to respect your time, folks. We're going to go overtime. We're going overtime here. We love it. All right, let's go back to Robert. You had a question. Go ahead, Robert.
Well, actually, Jeremy answered my question before, but I'll bring up another topic. I work in sponsorship at University of Massachusetts, and we do the hockey games, basketball games. But actually, we've had our first 2 hockey games. The attendance has been way up. So I was just wondering if you guys had any opinion on, what may be positives for college hockey this season. For us, we play Boston College and UConn. UConn's close, and BC is always good. So
BC's the best, man. BC's the best.
UMass.
Yeah. Hey, that's good. I like UMass. Eddie Olczyk's kid is a UMass kid, so it's
there. Yep.
I think college hockey is going to get the front, probably the best deal that they've had in a long time now that the NHL's out. I know NBC is going to have their Friday night college hockey night, and they're going to run a lot of games. There's going to be a lot of young kids who are going to be front and center, and people are going to get to know and understand how good college hockey is. It's a great stepping stone to the National Hockey League these days. More college players are getting drafted from college than ever before. And I think Boston is the hockey hotbed. Minnesota, Boston. To me, it's I'm obviously very biased, but I look forward to watching hockey games. I'll be back east and go to a couple games, and I think it's going to be very positive for the NCAA.
If you ever want to come out to Amherst, we'll welcome you.
All right, buddy. I love it. I love it.
Matt, do you have another question? And remember the little microphone button. We're going to get you. You're going to be a pro by the end of this deal.
I know. No more questions for me, but this is awesome.
I appreciate you coming on, Matt, very much.
Yeah, this is sweet. Thanks a lot, JR.
Diana Ridley, how about you? He wants to answer every fan question, so that's what you want. You want athletes to be able, like you, Tiki said, and Jeremy said, what you love about this is you're getting to interact. There's no buffer anymore. That's what's cool.
I love this. I'm going to bring this into my house every day. Let's do it.
Excellent. Diana, you got a question?
Okay, so to Jeremy, I have no clue about hockey, but I do have a question about hockey. So I know in Alabama we have, I don't believe we have any hockey courts or anything like that, but I know in Georgia we have the Cottonmouths. I want to know why don't the Southerners embrace ice hockey?
It's a good question. It's a really good question, and I know that team. I know the Cottonmouths. I know them very well. They're pretty much of a bruising league down there. Mainly the South is not really big because unlike basketball, baseball, football, where you can literally go out your backyard with and play in the parks, play at school, play in your backyard. Hockey, you need to have ice. You need to have the ice time. You have to have the ability to pay for equipment that's very expensive. And in the South, it's just not that prevalent. There's not a lot of ice rinks, and people aren't exposed to it like they are in the North, where the ponds freeze, you go on the ice and skate as a kid, you have pickup games. So you're not introduced to the game of hockey because of the climate, to tell you the truth. Which is why it's been really good that the National Hockey League has moved to the Sun Belt states like California, like Arizona, like Florida, because it's starting to get more popular and people are getting introduced to it at more at a younger age, and more rinks are being built. But you know, in the past, it's just it's a weather and an accessibility problem that people haven't understood it.
And they've got SEC football down there. That's like
Yeah,
tough to penetrate
yeah.
that market.
Your Alabama's pretty strong on the football field. I think they'd rather be watching that right now.
Yeah,
I think
you know
so.
what? That's a good way to beat Alabama. Let's put
By
them
the
on
way,
skates.
yeah. By the way, I'm pretty impressed that that someone comes on that's not a hockey fan that found us and came on to join us. That makes me feel really good.
Way to go, Diana. Awesome. Okay, question from Luis from Canada. Hey, Jeremy, are you happy to continue your career with broadcasting, or do you have plans of ever coaching a team? I think he's at a hotel, so sometimes the Wi-Fi. Can you hear us okay, Jeremy?
For us, I enjoy it.
There we go.
It's you know, when you have an opinion and you have a mouth, there's no better place to do it than on television. So it's a good avenue for me. But don't be surprised if I get into the ownership part of it at one of these days, and find a way to put a group together that's going to get in an ownership group and show all these guys how you really own a team.
Tiki, what do you like about broadcasting?
I keep. Hold on.
There you go.
Myself. You know what? Broadcasting is a great vehicle to one, earn a living, and with an expertise that you know very, very well. It's an interesting problem, and we alluded to it a little bit earlier. An athlete has a long career, 15 years, you know, whatever it may be. Some of these hockey players, like Jeremy, play 18. My brother's still actually playing football in his 16th year, and you don't have a chance to build an expertise in much of anything else. But if you get a TV gig, you have an intimate knowledge of the sport, and you can give insight that viewers love to hear. And it's a way to extend your brand. Really, in a better way to extend your brand, because you know, for football, for instance, you wear a face mask, so people don't see your face unless you're on television. Hockey's a little bit different. Basketball is obviously a lot different, but it's a great way to keep something that you're passionate about a part of your life.
Okay, and then last person in, Brian, can you hear us? Okay. I think he's got I think he's going to just talk on the text here. Jeremy, what does the perfect CBA look like? Can a CBA get crafted that prevents these lockout cycles ever again? I fear they're killing the sport.
Well, they're not helping the sport right now. That's for sure. Is there a perfect deal? No, there's never a perfect deal. I think that's a farce in any business. There's never a perfect deal for everyone. There's always going to be issues, whether pro player or pro owner. We just got to hope that the best deal possibly comes to where the both sides can live and can earn their money and have a competitive base for longer periods of time. You can't keep going 5, 6, 7 years and having a work stoppage because they don't like something else. They gotta have a contract, live by the contract, and continue to grow the game and give the fans the best product on the ice that they possibly can. But no, there will never be a perfect deal. I think both sides have to maneuver and have to waver. But to me, they better get it done quick because there's people dropping like flies right now.
All right, last question. Let's say we talked to you as being the commissioner and all that, how you would fix a lockout. Let's say we do have a season. You're the commissioner again. How do you fix the game? Forget the lockout. What would you change in the game to make it more interesting?
I think the game is pretty good right now. I'm a true believer in taking the talent and exposing the talent as much as they can, and I think the league's done a good job of freeing up a lot of the guys that have talent. I'm an old school guy. I would take out the instigator rule.
Oh, we love that part, the instigator role. I don't know what it is, but The NHL has froze him. They don't want him changing the game. Gary Bettman is controlling his Wi-Fi right now.
Right, what
Oh!
did you do to him?
Boom. That's hilarious. That's a perfect way to end the show, I guess. Right when the NHL says, get his mic off. Hey, Tiki, thanks for joining in this party, man. Really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you guys letting me jump on. Jeremy's a good friend, and anything I could do to hang out and listen to him for a little bit was fun.
Hey, you're welcome anytime. Charles Hogue, producing from an airport. Way to go, man. Good job. Robert, thanks for joining the show. Matt, Luis, Keith Knox, as always. Tweeting away, by the way. We're up over 1.5 million impressions on Twitter as we speak. Diana Ridley. I'm Chris Yates. Brian, thank you for joining the show. And, folks, we'll do it again. Special edition of the Social Sports and Entertainment Show. Thanks, everybody. Oh, wait, he's coming back. We got to let him. One final closing thought. You know what we just found out, Jeremy? You know what we found out? Gary Bettman just got a hold of that hotel and told him to get rid of your Wi-Fi. He canceled it. He called and said, "Cut his Wi-Fi out now."
Yeah, he did. He definitely did. Well, you know, I was actually giving him a little bit of a back rub, saying that the league is pretty good. They've done a good job. But like I said, I would take the instigator rule out, so that these guys that some of these guys that shouldn't be in the league, they're just running around acting like idiots and hitting people and being pain in the butts. Have more of a responsibility and have to live up to their actions a little bit more.
Man, you are a great guest. We appreciate you coming on. We've already thanked everybody, and thank you for coming on. And everybody go buy his book. Go ahead and plug the book one more time and tell everybody where they can get it.
Yeah, right. Well, it's going to be in stores November 1st. It's going to be, and it's available now on Amazon.com. So it's kind of self-entitled. It's just JR. So go out and get it. Go out and buy it. It's a lot of fun. I guarantee you will laugh, and I guarantee you'll say, that guy doesn't have all of his screws. That's for sure.
Brian, the fan, just said he's going to get my copy today. There you go. Awesome. We appreciate you coming on. And, folks, we're on every Wednesday night, 8 o'clock Texas time. This week's guest is an interesting one. He used to work with Mike Tyson, and he's going to tell all on that Wednesday night on the show. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Tiki.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys.